Hey guys, it's Ethan from Zimmer Labs, and these guys are my new Neo 15s. These are a pair of custom speakers that I just finished building for Mr. Al Sood. They came out fantastic. I'm super thrilled with them. I hope he is as well. The challenge that he gave me in designing and building these was that what he was looking for was tour quality sound in a residential package. So my baseline challenge was, how do I fit tour quality sound and tour levels of sound into a reasonable sized cabinet that has a premium finish, that aesthetically looks pleasing, that is something that will fit in the home, and that doesn't weigh a ton. So my initial thought is, of course, when I think of tour sound, I think of JBL. Whenever I go to a concert, everything seems to be JBL. So I figured the best starting point would be to do a little research and figure out, what's JBL making right now that's the top of the line touring equipment. If Kid Rock or Jimmy Buffett or U2 are doing a concert, what kind of massive arrays are those guys using? And what I found was that JBL's VTX line seems to be most high-end gear that's out there, and so I looked into how they build those, how they design those, and what drivers they're using in them. And for about $20,000 to $25,000 a piece, you can get a VTX V25, which is a 15-inch woofer, two 8-inch mid-ranges, and three D2 tweeters packed into a big black box. But I liked the idea of using those drivers because those drivers are pinnacle of speaker engineering as far as what is available today. They are all dual voice coil, compression, differential drive, Neo drivers that use horns, diaphragms, lenses to get the absolute most out of each driver, to get the most control over the sound output. And so I wanted to use those same drivers. So that's what I did. I figured out the required specs, as far as how much box space is required, and what kind of lenses and horns are required. And then the next step was to figure out how do I cram them into, like I said, a smaller package, something that is not overly huge, something that's relatively lightweight, and something that looks good. I'll pop the cover off this guy real quick so you guys can see what we're working with here. Got a 15-inch woofer, dual voice coil, differential drive, Neo compression woofer, 2267H. Mid-range is a 2169H 8-inch dual voice coil compression mid-range with a phase plug, diaphragm, and a horn or a lens, a 6-inch bass port, and a D2415K dual diaphragm, dual voice coil tweeter, again with a biradial horn or biradial lens, packed into a reasonable sized cabinet. Let's dive in, and I will show you how these guys work and how they came out. So let me start by showing off the finish so you guys can see how the cabinets look. Like I said, I think I said, these I did with solid maple, with a blue Kita wood dye, and then about 10 to 15 coats of polyurethane, high gloss obviously, and the finish is just gorgeous. I really dig how maple and wood dye looks. It just gives you such a cool finish. You can really see all the layers and all the burls that are in the grain of the wood. They're also on heavy duty ball bearing casters, so it's not that they're heavy to begin with, but super easy to position, to rotate, and that goes on pretty much any floor. I mean, we're on a carpet with a carpet pad underneath, and they're still spinning just fine. And actually, pop off the grill here, and I will show you guys those casters because they're kind of cool. Hopefully you guys can see. They're recessed, inset, 360 degree, 750 pound a piece steel ball bearing casters. And then the terminals are handmade acid etched brass plaques that have individual inputs for your tweeters, mid-ranges, and dual inputs for the woofers. On the front end, we've got the biradial horn for the tweeter, and then the mid-range horn is the rectangular slot, which I also custom whittled out the front end to extend the horn. So let's look at the drivers individually. Pop off the covers, and we'll start with the tweeters. So we've got biradial JBL lens or horn up top, and then the driver is a dual diaphragm, dual voice coil D2 JBL tweeter, which is essentially the most high-tech, most top-of-the-line compression tweeter that JBL makes, and it is awesome in person. I mean, it's hard to explain. You have to hear it. But inside this tweeter, there are two tweeters essentially. There are two diaphragms inside the driver, meaning there are two tweeters in there, and they're 3 inches, as opposed to, what you usually get when you think of a tweeter. When you think of a tweeter, you think of something like this. Your standard 1-inch aluminum or titanium dome tweeter. This has got dual 3-inch. I think they're titanium. They might be aluminum, but I think they're titanium tweeters. Diaphragms in there. So basically, each of these tweeters is 2 tweeters in one, and because they're dual voice coil, you can really push a lot of power into them. And the reason that I opted to have the horn here is because this tweeter is designed to work specifically with the horn, and it would sound okay without it, but it wouldn't be anywhere near as good without it. The mid-range is the same, and that guy is hanging out right here. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's inset about 6 inches, and there is a steel mesh screen, but this is another audio lens or horn, if you will, that's built on the inside of the box, and then I just hand carved the cabinets to extend the horn out an additional inch, just A, for looks, and B, because it only made sense to just essentially make the horn bigger. The mid-range is a 2169H, which is an 8-inch mid-range. Again, differential drive compression, dual voice coil driver, and it's a big boy. Then we've got the woofer, and this guy is maybe my favorite part of the speaker. Now we come to the woofer. And this might be my favorite part of the speaker. Like I said, this is a differential drive Neo, dual voice coil, dual gapped voice coil, 15-inch, just monster woofer. This is a 2267H 15-inch JBL woofer, and this guy, you can't tell what a whopping huge monster driver this is when it's installed in the cabinet. So what I wanted to do was have one not installed that I can show you guys, just so you can get an idea of what this thing truly is like. This is a huge woofer. I mean, we're talking, I'd say half the weight of the entire speaker is the woofer, and just this giant cast aluminum frame. This guy is a titan, absolute monster. It's essentially all voice coil. The reason the back end sticks out so far is because the voice coil goes all the way down, so that the woofer has that much more room to move and can move that much more air. It's got huge excursion, and as you can see, a huge spider. It's about a 9-inch spider, and I think it's a 4-inch voice coil on this guy, so just absolute monster. And it's just kind of show you the idea between the differential drive design, the whole idea of a differential drive speaker, and why it looks like this and not like that. So this is a standard woofer on the right hand side, and like I said, it's a really good woofer. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking the JW300. It's an excellent 12-inch woofer. This guy, the 15, is just, it's a whole different animal, and it's a whole different ball of wax. The reason it's got such a thin bottom and you don't see that big honking massive magnet that you see on the 12-inch is because the way the differential drive woofers work is JBL actually puts the magnets inside the voice coil. So instead of having them on the outside of the voice coil, with the voice coil going in and out of the magnet, the JBL puts 2 neodymium magnets inside the voice coil so that it goes around the magnets, and that enables the speaker to weigh about probably 50% less. It's about half the weight it would be if it was a traditional style. It also reduces the heat, reduces the friction, it ups the efficiency, and allows the magnets to be significantly smaller while at the same time producing the same SPL, the same excursion, the same overall air movement. And now the true test for whether or not you successfully built a speaker is, once it's put together, you want to tune it by acoustically measuring it and using some software to take readings and check your levels and make sure everything is reading the way you want it to. You want to set your crossovers correctly, but you want to get a frequency response that is as close to perfectly flat as you possibly can. And this guy, I'm very, very proud to say, is actually better than what JBL makes and provides for Tour Sound. So the graph on the right is the actual JBL spec measurements of the frequency response for the VTX V25, and as you can see, it's incredibly flat. I mean, starting right here, that's 20 hertz. That's where your ear can actually start hearing. It goes straight across the spectrum with, only minimal dips. Over here is kind of hard to see, but this is the measurement of the Neo 15s, and believe it or not, this is the actual exact measurement without smoothing. And what that means is, what I mean by that is, when you see a frequency response graph like that, you'll notice that the line is nice and smooth with, you know, little dips and spikes, but it's not jagged, whereas this guy is, you know, nice and sharp. And that's because JBL applies a smoothing logarithm to just for purposes of, you know, visually seeing the graph and making it look a little prettier. So here is the Neo 15 with 1/6 smoothing applied, and that is the single best frequency response I've ever seen in any speaker that I've built, and is actually better than JBL's. I'm super happy with the result. We'll jump back to the non-smooth version. And as you can see, there's 1-2 little dips in the frequency response, and that is because of the crossover points. And every speaker in the world has that. So if you ignore those 2 dips, that is one heck of a perfect straight line, or at least as close as you're gonna get in real world speaker design. Now, of course, no speaker test video would be complete without playing some music. This is a good friend of mine, Charlie Christos. The song's called Butterflies from, I think it's from his album Over Awake. Really excellent album.
So long and you rouse me with an imaginable fury.
Keep in mind, guys, the volume is at 10% with the gains on the amplifiers down at 10%. These things sound incredible.
Crowded street and wait to see your face, 'cause each day I feel colder without you. I will drive through your neighborhood when it's late and I can't sleep. I will tear through these pages and find what I missed before. So close your lips and read my words. Revoke my thoughts, occupy me again. Time with theory and Brown and think in circles, sell myself short time and again. will send my name to the letters to you and send them nowhere. I will wait for an answer, and who am I fooling? Who am I fooling? Hold your lips and awake my way.
And I guess that's about it. I'd love to play a whole bunch more music for you guys, but last time I did that, YouTube yelled at me for copyright infringement, so I know Charlie doesn't mind when I play his stuff. Yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, I could talk about these things for hours, but hopefully Mr. Al-Surda really likes them. And if anybody else is in the market for some custom-built speakers, let me know. And of course, thank you guys for watching, as always.